Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's your boy YBP Gang, YBP Nation, YBP Boxing, YBP MMA. Coming at y'all with TUF, Season 31, Episode 6 review. Episode just came out tonight, so I'm doing a review. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time out of all the episodes where I just completely forgot that there was even an episode coming out. I've been progressively, forgetting that, this show even exists. Because, the hype and all the excitement we've gotten out of it in the initial weeks has kind of, died off. So, and plus it's July 4th. A lot of other stuff going on just in the day for me. But I did get around to watching it. It's pretty late. No excuses, though. We still here. Got some notes for, what went on. I'm not going to lie. Pretty good episode. If y'all have been on Twitter, you probably saw the result of the fight. It got leaked by some guy. So we already kind of saw what happened. So that kind of ruined the suspense of it. But seeing everything around it, like the context around everything going on, is still pretty cool to see. So just to start with the episode, you can clearly see that Conor favors Lee Hammond, the guy Lee Hammond and Kurt Holobaugh. Two guys fighting on this episode. You can clearly see that Conor really likes him. They got a close relationship. I think they're both from Ireland. Both grew up around the same environment. Just if you look at Conor when he's coaching other people, and then take those same clips and then pair it up to this episode when he's coaching Lee, it's way more passionate. He's going at him. He's like, let's do this, man. Let's really get this bread for real. He really wants him to succeed, and you can see because he's one of his own, So you can really see that he's way more passionate about him. And then later on in the episode, we kind of see Kurt Holobaugh talking about his UFC stint and not being sure that he was going to return. So this opportunity was really big for him. When I was doing my research for my last video, the breaking down the every fighter on this season, you saw Kurt Holobaugh face killers, and they show that too. He faced Thiago Moises, when you know how good that guy is. Raoni Barcelos, seasoned veteran in the UFC, really tough guy. So he faced some really good guys when he was in the UFC. So his losses ended up aging really well. So it almost kind of sucks that those are the guys he got matched up with. It's not like when he was in the UFC, he fought like trash guys, and then you don't feel too bad. Fought some killers, So he probably was UFC caliber at the time. Just, unlucky matchmaking kind of led to his demise for his UFC career. But now he gets the opportunity, and later on in the episode we see him make the most of it. But yeah, on the side of Lee Hammond, we see heavy character development. TUF does a really good job of leaving you unsure as to who's gonna win the episode, because usually you just point to, okay, the guy who's being developed more, who they're talking about more in the episode, they're probably gonna win it, because you want to develop them, make sure the viewers know who this guy is for future, so they can be more invested in the episodes to come. Whereas if you just don't develop a character, why would I care about him if he wins and keeps going on and on and on? So they've done a good job of having a mixture. They had characters who they barely talked about win their fights, and then they had some characters where they talked a lot about, really wanted you to care about them, and then they won their fight. So it's a double-edged sword. It gets you really passionate about a fighter, and then you get your heart crushed. So it keeps you involved, but it can also be to your detriment in that way too. And that's how they kind of built Lee Hammond. He talked a lot about his family, his home, his connection to Conor, what it's like back home, all that type of stuff. And then that kind of moves us on to the weigh-ins. That's a big narrative that kind of comes up in this episode. Conor showing up to the weigh-ins, how involved is he really with this team? Because I don't think he has a consistent track record of just never coming to any weigh-ins, not going to in general, not being involved with this team. That's probably the biggest thing that you could really point to. Chandler mentions that at the end. I'll talk about it when we get there, but he talks about how he's always going to the weigh-ins. You want to be there with your with your guys when they're going through war, when they're doing their stuff. You don't want to be the guy like sitting in your comfy chair, sitting on top of the food chain, but you're not going through the work that you commanded other people to do, because you're not going to get the respect out of your people. So it's just, at the end of the day, it is Conor, but it's just another thing you could point to as to why maybe Conor's team isn't having the success that Chandler's team is having. It's just not as involved, and how he could be a better coach. So obviously weigh-ins went well. Everyone weighed in well. Then I guess the actual fight, Lee Hammond versus Kurt Holobaugh. And to be honest, Lee was completely dominating Kurt Holobaugh, like from end to end, bell to bell, just all around. It was all Lee Hammond. First round, he got the bag. He was getting ground and pound, good top pressure, just complete dominance. When I did my breakdown for, I'll keep mentioning it because I feel like it wasn't the best video in the world, but I put a lot of time into it, and it was a pretty good concept. So definitely go check that out if you have some free time. But I did say, man, I was really impressed with Lee Hammond's vast amateur career. They mentioned that in this episode as well, like fighting in IMMAF, and he showed it, man. He's clearly the way better fighter. He showed that in the first round. Then the second round, this is more of the same, like just complete domination. Almost got a guillotine, and I think he moved into like some sort of side control, just dominating, fighting smart, ground and pound, getting elbows. And then at some point in that round, like maybe around like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I think Kurt like kind of scrambled out of a position, and then they got up, like they were like 50-50, had him in like a headlock, got up, Kurt reversed the position, and then Lee tried to attack a leg lock, just trying to set the scene so y'all can kind of visualize it. And then Lee attacks a headlock, and then Kurt falls on top of Lee Hammond, grabs a hold of his neck, gets that guillotine. It's like a mounted guillotine. It's pretty tight. As soon as he gets it, really costly mistake by Lee to just leave his neck out in the open for Kurt to attack with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as Chandler mentions later in the episode. And Kurt just hops on that and just gets it straight like that. And it's crazy, like these little mistakes, little mistake. I mean, as experienced as Lee Hammond is, that little a mistake ruined almost a masterclass of performance right there. Just a little, and that's the difference between, at the highest level, that's those little things can really prove the difference between a win and a loss. So it's a learning experience. I would have loved to see Lee Hammond go farther than Torre, because I think he had potential to actually win, put on some better fights. Just way more potential than Kurt Holobaugh. But at the same time, it's a good learning lesson, and it's cool to see Kurt Holobaugh go across, and it's like, never give up, you know what I mean? Like, even if you down, like, Leon Edwards getting that knockout over Kamaru Usman, like, you can still pull out a victory. I believe Michael Chandler referred to it as the holobaugh Hail Mary. That's kind of, it was a good moment, pretty wholesome. But, with they have a series with the UFC. It's like the agony and the what's it called? There's a name for it, but there's two sides to the spectrum. There's obviously like the triumph, the good stuff going on. That's on the Chandler side, the relief, and then it's the agony. You immediately see, like, after all that happens, Conor falls to his knees. I'm seeing that all over Twitter. Like, it's a meme. Like, everyone's like laughing about it. I mean, you could definitely see, like, Conor, but I mean, I don't know. Conor overreacted, though. I don't know, like, but from his point of view, it seems like Lee Hammond, like, meant a lot to him. He really wanted to see him succeed, and to see him lose in such a dramatic fashion after pretty much dominating the fight, it has to suck. It's just another reminder that MMA is such an unforgiving sport. You could be doing your best in the fight, pretty much dominating, and then you just get head kicked to the head, or you just get submitted the last second. So it's one of those type of sports, like, so Conor couldn't have been too fond of that. Another thing I like to highlight too is like Chandler, like throughout the whole fight, despite the adversity, Conor was pretty vocal in the fight too, I will say. Another like pointing to like their relationship with Lee Hammond, but like Chandler, man, even like just through the depths of like when it was like the worst of the worst for Kurt Holobaugh, like when he was just getting dominated round one. Round one was pretty bad. Like could have been a 10-8. I mean, I didn't see much from Kurt Holobaugh. He was still coaching coaching Kurt through all of that, staying consistent with what he was saying, staying involved. I mean, just overall better coach. Like when stuff going bad, I would just hear like in some of these other fights, Conor would go silent, but Chandler stayed giving his guy some advice and ended up paying off in the end. Yeah, I mean, after that, Conor, like, he's trying to, like, cheer up Lee Hammond, all that type of stuff, cheer him up. And then we kind of get to Chandler. I ain't gonna lie, he was poking the bear a little bit. Like, he was taunting him. He was, after the loss, he was like, you know, we just gonna keep stacking them up. And Chandler isn't like, it wasn't like the nicest way possible. That's the nicest way you could really beef with someone. You could tell, like, it wasn't malicious. Like, he wasn't like, nah, we really just beat y'all. Like, y'all ain't even got nothing on us. Like, he was literally just saying, like, I'm gonna stack it up. But that's Chandler's way of, you know, everyone got their own way of doing sort of stuff. That's Chandler's way of trash talking. And, you know, Conor wasn't too keen to that. They stepped to each other. That's the thumbnail. And then Conor just pushed him. And honestly, I'm not surprised that Chandler reacted the way he did. That's if I had to imagine how Chandler would react to someone pushing him, it probably would be like that. Conor pushes Chandler, and Chandler's screaming like, "Woohoo!" Or he, I can't. I'm tired, man. It's like pretty late, but he's like a high pitched scream. He's like, "Woo!" Like, you know. So we're gonna fight right here. He not even. I think part of it is, Chandler didn't want to jeopardize the fight happening. So he's just going along with everything, but he doesn't want to, you know, seriously hurt Conor or, you know, jeopardize. Like I said, that's a big money fight. You don't want all that to go away just off a dumb little fight. But at the same time, like Chandler just, he ate that. Like he just, you know what I mean? He was cheering. He was like, let's go. Like, let's do it. It's almost like he liked it. Not in a weird way, but he wasn't too bothered by it. Yeah, that's probably the biggest moment in the whole show, honestly. It was a pretty cool moment. You see Dana, it was kind of like funny Dana like running into the ring. He's trying to stop everything from happening. But yeah, that was pretty much the conclusion of the whole show. We saw some tough fighters like trash talking Conor on his way out. It was kind of funny. Like they were like, I forgot what did one person say. He said something like, better start revving up that jet. Like, come on, bro. Like the fact that he can say that though is crazy. Like you trash talking like the GOAT, bro. You're not even in the UFC, man. Like, not that Conor's the GOAT, but like someone who's of that stature, like, I don't know. It was just funny to me that they was the one trash talking, but I think it's finally, for me at least, just sitting on the couch just watching the show, I think it's really good that Conor's bad coaching is finally being called out by everyone around him, or just the peers. I think Conor's bad coaching, because he honestly, if his team was winning, I think people would like discard it a little bit. They're like, all right, it's a winning method, but it clearly doesn't work. You know, they haven't won a single match as of late, or no, as of the whole competition. Like it's 0-6. And sometimes I hear some people like say that, like, even if, like, it's not Conor's fault that his fighters are bad, or that they can't, like, Conor can't do much to really, like, help his team win. But I mean, I beg to differ, man. Like, there's stuff that he could really do. Like, if he was really coaching his team well, I'm not saying he could completely flip the result of, like, what could happen, but he could definitely influence them in some way, positively influence them. There's just stuff that he can do to show that he's putting in an effort to be a coach, and he's not showing those qualities. I'm not saying that he can, like, all of a sudden turn his fighters into, you know, Khabib or John Jones overnight, but he could definitely do his part, and he's not doing his part. So for me, it's just reassuring to see that his bad coach is finally being called out. Hopefully some changes come for his team. Because, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a hater. Like, I don't want to see Conor go 0 for 10. That's kind of crazy. Or over 8, I think it is. But, yeah, overall, I mean, the show's getting pretty good up to this point. I hope they can keep the momentum somewhat. Definitely probably the most viral episode. I don't know if people... But that's the thing, like, people... I don't know if people were actually watch this episode with the leak, and then are they even aware that this episode was going to be big, you know? They probably just saw the clips on Instagram or something. So, but it should be good. I think it's going to draw back more attention. People are going to come back and be like, okay, you know? But yeah, I mean, you're not, on July 4th, I mean, you're not, like, clearing time to watch TUF 31. Like, it's not that big of an event. Kind of sucks that it fell on this day, but yeah, man, that's all I really got for y'all. Leave a like on the video, subscribe. Tapology should be having a prediction come out tomorrow, at some point later in the day, and then dropping my first underdog fantasy like picks video, just to give y'all some help, pay-per-view card. So thought I'd go big with it. That's all I really got for new content coming out, because I was planning on doing like a similar thing to what Dan Hardy does with the War Room, like how Trayshawn Gore can beat Bo Nickel, but then his fight got canceled. So it's like so many fights are dropping on that card, man. It's crazy, but still getting a decent card. Be able to make good content out of it. Yeah, man. Leave a like on the video, subscribe. That's all I really got for y'all. Peace out, most car. You already know what it is.